Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome to my channel. My name is Joanna. If this is your first time joining me, thank you so much for being here. However, I have showed up in your consciousness. There is likely a message here or two for you on this amazing and challenging journey that we are all on right now. Thank you for being here. If you like what you hear or what you see, please click the like button. Also subscribe. I would love for you to subscribe. And also click the notification button. It tells you when I upload new information or new content. And I do hope you stay. And perhaps you can share this with a friend or two that you believe may benefit from this. At the end of the day, my ultimate goal, my ultimate intention is to help you know yourself better. It's to help you grow out of your own mental imprisonment, really, is why I do this. For those of you who are returning, thank you so much for being here. You know the drill. I'm going to go through messages and give you whatever is intended for you at this time. And I'm doing things a little bit differently this time. I am being guided to try something different. It's interesting because I'm a Taurus, so I am an earth sign, a fixed sign, and I am not supposed to be dealing with changes too well. But I often get bored with the way I do things, and it seems to be happening literally every few months. So now again is a time where I'm being guided to try something different, to try something new, a new flavor, to keep me engaged and keep me excited. So I'm just following my intuition and see what happens. So with today's messages, they're divided into fire, air, water, and earth. Whatever you are drawn to or whatever element you resonate with the most, there is likely a message in there for you. Though if you've watched me for a while, you know that my number one objective is to help you listen to your own intuition. So whatever you are intuitively drawn to, there is usually a message in there for you. I do my best and try not to put people in boxes. I feel we've done too much of that already. So without further ado, the first sign I am going to give messages to is the element, the first element is the element of fire. So that's Leo, Sagittarius, and Aries. I have a lot of Aries in my chart. I'm next to Aries actually, and I have Sagittarius as my moon sign. So let's see what we have coming up for you over the next little while. Let's see what you are leaving behind. Very interesting. So we have movement, and it's shown to me in the reverse position. This is what you are leaving behind. It is quite likely that you are moving on from something into something new, and you are at the very tail end of that, which means there is likely a new beginning for you. A new doorway is being shown to me, and you are approaching this new doorway. This doorway represents a new beginning, an entrance to a new life, a new understanding of yourself, a new world in many ways. So for those of you who have fire in your charts, if you resonate with fire, you are likely at the very tail end of moving from point A to point B. This can be a physical move where you are literally changing locations, where you live, where you earn money, where your job is, or this is an internal movement where you are seeking more for yourself. And the seeking started with an internal realization that where you are at is no longer serving you, or you are no longer content with. And as a result of that, things started to reshuffle inside of you. And if you've listened to any of my videos or anybody else's videos on this subject, you know that your outside world is reflective of your inner world. So 2 and 8 is a 10, which represents an end of a cycle. So you are very likely at the very tail end of leaving a very important, and I also want to say a karmic cycle. A karmic cycle represents a lot of notions and ideas that we have subscribed to, that our ancestors have subscribed to. These are conditionings and filters through which we see the world. So when I say that your karmic cycle is ending or you are leaving a karmic cycle, it represents a new beginning in terms of your ideology, your thought processes, how you see yourself and the world. And obviously, how you see yourself and the world will, based on how you see yourself in the world, you will experience your life accordingly. So this is a good omen. I will say that it was probably quite uncomfortable, and it probably still is. These things are never very comfortable. They're more often than not quite uncomfortable, because it's like you are literally shifting gears. And if you've driven an automatic car before, or with somebody who drove an automatic car, oftentimes when you shift gears, there's a bit of a jerk that the car makes, a movement which is uncomfortable, and it's uncomfortable. It's not very smooth. So chances are your ride has not been very smooth lately. I can concur that as being a Sagittarius in my moon sign. Nonetheless, you are at the very tail end of it, and there is still a lot of restructuring going on in terms of your own inner environment, which will ultimately reflect your outer environment. You're changing gears. Whatever that means to you, you're changing gears, you're shifting gears. Collectively speaking, we are all in the process of shifting gears, and that's a metaphor. You're also seeing things differently in terms of safety, your perceived safety. Everyone has a different idea of what safety means to them. I mean, we have the obvious: money, security, stable jobs, stable relationships, all of that stuff everyone has. But on top of that, we all have our own individual ideas of what safety is. And we all seek out safety. It's a natural thing we do. And I suspect you seek out safety because when we feel safe, we thrive. When we don't feel safe, our survival is being undermined. And so your idea of safety and how you arrive at your own inner safety seems to be changing. And it's changing as a result of your own self-reflection. So if you're a fire sign, or you have a lot of fire in your chart, you are likely going through, and have been going through for quite some time, for some of you, intense self-reflection. And when I say intense self-reflection, what I'm referring to is looking at the structures of the mind, how your mind works, what your beliefs are, what you deem as real to you or as your truths. And based on what your real is, on what your truth is, it is how you experience life. And a lot of your truths are shifting and changing as a result of you reflecting within yourself. So this is what you are leaving behind. What is coming up for you? The solar plexus. So the solar plexus is all about the ego. I have heard from many people, including myself, who have been experiencing a lot of solar plexus disturbances, a lot of digestive issues, a lot of bloating, a lot of discomfort, seemingly out of nowhere. And what I am being shown is that this disturbance is mostly energetic, as our bodies absorb a lot of the higher frequencies that we are now enveloped by. Okay, this energy needs to be assimilated within our bodies, and it takes time for our physical bodies to adjust to these higher frequencies. And for a while before our physical bodies adjust to these higher frequencies, the adjustment period may, for many people, especially those who are very sensitive, this may signify some disturbance in that area. Any challenges with digestion, I'm hearing a lot of burping and belching, bloating, just overall discomfort in the solar plexus. So if you are experiencing this and you don't seem to be able to get a handle on it, know that it probably does not have a lot to do with what you are doing. Although if you are obviously putting the wrong things into your body, then of course your digestive system is going to reflect that. But if you're normally someone who is healthy and eats healthy and takes care of his or her physical body, and you are still experiencing these disturbances despite the fact that emotionally everything is stable or semi-stable and you're eating healthy, exercising, all that kind of wonderful stuff, know that I almost want to say there is little you can do other than just write it out and do the best you can. Go easy on yourself. Try not to stress too much about it, because when we stress about it, it just adds to whatever stress the physical body is going to, because it is stressful to the physical body. And stressful doesn't necessarily mean it's bad, but it is. Our bodies are learning how to assimilate higher frequencies, and that can cause some disturbances in our physicality. So because this is shown to me as in coming up, for some of you, this is something that you are just starting to experience or will be experiencing in a little while. If this makes no sense to you, come back to this message a few weeks or 2-3 months from now and see if it makes sense to you then. So it's almost like a bit of a warning. Not that there's anything bad, but it's a bit of a warning that there is that energy that's there. And obviously, if you are feeling off and you're having, pains and major discomforts and it's causing you worry, I always say go and get it checked out. Make sure that there is nothing physical going on that can be pointed out or pinpointed. Once you're cleared and it still continues, just know that a lot of it has to do with the energetic component of what we are experiencing. Okay, so that's health-wise. Also, your perspective is changing in terms of your identity or how you see yourself, which I would expect. The more we absorb the higher frequencies, the less we begin to see ourselves as limited beings. And that takes time. But what it means is that ultimately you are becoming more of your true self. And that is something to be celebrated. So that is what's coming up for you if you are a fire sign or connect with a fire sign. I have 2 more cards that popped out. The first one is harmony or the sacral chakra. And when I was shuffling these cards, I asked for a message. What is the most important message that the universe wants fire signs to know? Know that you are not alone in this as you go through this process. You are being energetically recharged. And because of that, you may begin to feel different about yourself and the world. And you are in a process of changing your perspectives and your perceptions. And whenever you are hearing this, whatever time you are hearing this, because this is timeless, this has no time constraint on it. So whenever you land on this message, is the right message for you. Whatever your perspectives are right now, know that they are changing. So if you think of yourself a certain way, or if you think of a world in a certain way, know that your current perspective is likely going to change, and for some of you, massively change over the next 6 months or so. And that's a good thing. Now, let's talk about harmony. Harmony is being at peace with yourself. You are finding much more what is right with you versus what is wrong with you. And a lot of people, myself included, tend to focus on what we don't have, on what is wrong with us, or what we can't do, or what we are not allowed to do. We focus more on the, let's say, negative. And there's no right or wrong. I try not to label things as right or wrong when I look from a higher perception or perspective, but when we focus on lack, we are in the energy of lack, and therefore we create from the space of lack. So if you are someone who is used to looking at yourself in terms of what you don't have, what is wrong with you, what is it that you are missing, you seem to be shifting that through self-reflection, and you are consciously deciding to acknowledge what is right with you. What is it that you do possess? What is it that you are good at? What is it that you are abundant in? You are shifting from the view of yourself in terms of negative to more of a positive. And that is allowing you to arrive at a greater sense of inner harmony. Now, when we are in inner harmony, we are no longer at war with ourselves. And if every single human embodied more inner harmony, we would see less disharmony in our physical world. And our physical world is a compilation of each and every individual being. So if every individual person does his or her work on shifting their own perspective and looking at one's self more from the perspective of positives and what we can do versus what we can't, the world is going to change. But it's not going to change by itself. It's going to change as a result of each and every one of us changing from within. Okay? And reflection. You are at a point right now where you need to see yourself differently. Now, when I say need, I'm putting quotation marks around it because, as far as I'm concerned, you don't need to do a damn thing. You do it because you choose to, on some level. So it's a choice. But the reason why this is being brought up is because the more we end up embodying higher frequencies, the more potent manifestors we become. And therefore, the more we see ourselves in positive ways, the more of that we manifest in our physical 3D reality. On the other hand, the opposite is true. The more we focus on the negative, the more we focus on lack, and we are powerful manifestors, the more we will manifest more lack and negative. And that's why it is important for you to look within yourself and ask yourself, what is this person I call Joanna made of? What is Joanna all about? What does she believe in? What does she think she lacks? Or what does she feel she's abundant in? And every single person is abundant in his and her own way. But we have a tendency to focus on the lack of it. Okay? Remember, everything is about perspectives and perceptions. You are no longer being your old self. You are in a process of manifesting more of your true self. What is a true self, you ask? Your true self is made up of light. You are experiencing a physical 3D reality in a manifested, dense, vibrationally dense form. But that is not who you are. That is only what you are experiencing life on Earth as a human person. But there is more to you than your humanness. And the idea here is to be aware of that, to know that, and to embody that. Because when you embody this knowledge, when you embody this awareness, and it's not just the head, it's embodied, it's in your body, it becomes you, you become it. And therefore you become a powerful, powerful human being. And that's not because you're not powerful already. It's just that you experience the manifestation of your powerfulness because you embody it. Okay? Trust yourself more. Know that things are possible. Don't look at the world and say the world is never going to change, because the world is made up of you and I and your neighbors. So if we say the world is not going to change, then what we are saying, we are not going to change. But whether you change or whether I change, that choice belongs solely to me. So make the choice to change whatever limits you into something that's much more expanded, so that you embody the more expanded, more powerful version of yourself. So that's what I have for fire signs. I hope this is helpful. Now, if you are an earth sign, Taurus, Virgo, or Capricorn, or you resonate with earth element, these messages are going to be for you. I'm a Taurus. My sun is in Taurus. I'm very close to Aries, and my rising is in Libra, and my moon is in Sagittarius. So I have a lot of air and fire and earth. All right. if you are an earth sign, what are you leaving behind? Ride the wave in reverse. Let me tune into this. Emotionally speaking, you have been going through quite a lot. And it may have been feeling like you were in a battle, an emotional battle of some sort. I see a lot of resistance, a lot of emotions coming up, and difficulty with following through whatever it is that you normally do. Your regular tasks, your regular way of doing things, there is just a lot of resistance. Now, the reason why there is this resistance is because you are going through a massive shift. You are going through a lot of changes. I, as a Taurus, will corroborate with that, will affirm that's the case for me. And yes, in fact, I have been experiencing a lot of resistance. It's almost as if this resistance is happening to me. Of course, I am resisting, but it's not a conscious resistance. It's very much an internal resistance that I can't quite put my finger on. So there's obviously a lot of reshuffling going on. Generally, when there is a lot of resistance being experienced, it is usually because it's connected to or tied to a big wave of change. So we're seeing waves here, big wave of change. And change is constant in our world. Change happens every day on a minute level. We don't necessarily see it, but nothing is constant. Change happens every day. But when we're experiencing big change, like status change, relationship status change, job status change, financial status change, health status change, change of homes, when we're experiencing these type of changes, these are often tied to what we perceive as loss. Change is often perceived by the human mind or the human ego as loss. But many times what we are losing in the process of change is things or situations that are no longer aligned with our higher frequency. Nonetheless, the ego does not prefer change. The ego prefers status quo. And when we go through changes, it can feel uncomfortable and unstable. So if you are an earth sign, chances are quite high that you have been experiencing this already, because this is on its way out. And it has been quite intense for quite a few of you. I can attest to that as well. However, just like with the fire signs, you seem to be at the tail end of it, where momentarily the level of frustration and the level of resistance is going to temporarily heighten. It's going to be felt like it's heightened, to then one moment just completely go and drop down. And when that happens, it's like a new you is being revealed. And that's the only way I can describe this, is like a new you is being revealed. So really what we are experiencing is the resistance of letting go of our identity in order to experience more of our true selves. But because we have not been there before, it's unfamiliar to us. And what is unfamiliar is generally thought of by the ego as unsafe. We tend to resist that. Okay, but there is nothing bad happening here that could be qualified as bad. In fact, quite the opposite is happening. We are moving more into a space where we embody more of our true self. So that's very similar to a fire sign. So you may have fire and earth in your chart like I do, which makes sense to me. So this is what you are likely experiencing and have been experiencing. But again, just like the fire signs, you seem to be at the tail end of it. And not only that, this resistance is also signifying an end of a very important cycle. And this cycle is shown to me as one that's connected to the identity of lack. So if you identify with yourself, or if you identify yourself as lacking, or not being confident, or your belief system is rooted or has been rooted, your foundation has been rooted in a lot of lack, L-A-C-K, like a lot of people, myself included, then you are shifting gears and you are moving from lack identity to more of embodying a prosperous identity, abundance identity. I talked about this briefly on one of my previous videos where I had a conversation with my higher self, and I realized that she knows no lack. It's not part of her experience. And at the same time, I realized that my ego self, this is where she's rooted. She's rooted in lack. And I found it very uncomfortable being in the abundance energy because it was so new to me and unfamiliar, and I wanted to go back to my lack. And that's when I realized I have a problem. So you seem to be shifting in your identity, which may feel a little bit like an internal crisis. Okay? What does that mean? It means that momentarily you may be questioning in terms of what is it that you represent to yourself and to the world. You might be questioning, what is it that I'm here to do? You might be questioning your purpose. What's my purpose in life? And we have many, many, many purposes. Our main purpose is to experience. So the deciding factor then becomes in asking the question, what is it that you choose to experience? If, for example, you choose to experience more of abundance, then we have to look at your identity and how you identify yourself and see if you identify with lack more so than abundance. And whatever you find out, you have to do some inner work. Okay? You are also closing a very important chapter, one that is marked with prominency. All of a sudden, it's not that you become more prominent, you are being seen as more prominent somehow. Whatever that means to you. You're showing up in the world with more light, and I'm hearing for some of you with more specifically golden light around you. So whatever gold light means to you, each person will decide what that is for them. You're showing up with this golden light around you where some people may actually be able to feel it, yes, but perceive it, see it. They can see it. They can see it around you. So don't be surprised if you're an earth sign. If someone comes up to you and says, you glow. Okay? So that's card number 1. Message number 2. Oh boy. The typical 8 of Swords, or trapped in fear. When we shift in our identity, we often experience a lot of fearful thoughts because it is literally like we are shedding our skin. It's like the snake that sheds its own skin and temporarily becomes completely blind. And if you can imagine that as a metaphor, that moment is very scary because it's very vulnerable. So you might be experiencing some negative thoughts. You might be feeling like, literally for some of you, what's the purpose for me living? You are questioning, why am I here? What is it that I am here to do? And a lot of the questioning is around your identity. So let me see what this person wants to tell me. You may be asking the question, why do I struggle so much? Why do I struggle so much? And the question that follows is, what is the struggle? Identify what the struggle is. Because oftentimes when we identify the struggle, we can work through it and move past it. It is when we don't identify the struggle and we put up a lot of resistance. And we did talk about a lot of resistance here, okay? I'm hearing, what am I here to do? You are questioning your identity in terms of your value and purpose in the world. And you are here for a reason. There's a reason why you are here on this earth at this particular time. But this may not be apparent to you. You may not see the value of why you are here. In case you forgot, let us remind you. You are here because you are important, a very important part of the ascension process. Okay? And to ascend is to be more of who you truly are and less of your ego identity. Of course, you're always going to have ego as long as you are embodying the physical form. But we're shifting gears and are embodying more of our true essence while in a physical form, so we less likely identify with the ego only. Okay? And for people who identify heavily with the ego, with the body structure, that is a challenging process. It's a challenging process for me. And even though I have this connection with higher consciousness, my conditioning is very much in the ego form, in the physical form. I have a lot of attachment to the physical body. So you might be feeling a little bit trapped in fear. And if that's the case, know that it will pass. No, it's not a comfortable process. Do your best to remind yourself that it is a process. And just like any process, it doesn't last forever. Although it may feel like it does, but I assure you it does not last forever. Okay? I'm also getting a headache. You might be experiencing a lot of headaches at around the time of when you listen to this. And August is also somehow important. You might experience some symptoms of expansion in or around the month of August. The 8th of August is the portal, the Lion's Gate portal. So that's another powerful time. And there may be something there for you with regards to the Lion's Gate portal. If that's the case, then that's the message for you. Okay, is there anything else? what I heard is be your own light. What does it mean when I hear be your own light? Seek the light within you. Search for the light that is within you. And there is light within you. You may not see it. Heck, you may have never looked for it before. And now is the time to seek out your light. And no one can do it for you. Unfortunately, it's one of those things where every single human being has to do it for themselves. I can point you in a certain direction. I can show you where it is, but you have to see it. What does it mean to seek your own light? To see your own light? Simply put, it's to see your goodness. And it's in there. And it's valuable. And it's important. And it's precious. Maybe it's time you see that within yourself. So look for it. Last but not least, we have the message of acceptance. If you are an earth sign, you are likely dealing with some issues in your abdomen. Okay, so fire signs had a similar message, but this is very much about challenges of non-acceptance, not accepting yourself, not seeing your own worth or value, trying to be like somebody else, hoping you are a different person. Anytime we live in non-acceptance of ourselves is when we struggle. If you don't accept what is, you are essentially resisting what is. And when you resist what is, you struggle. One of the easiest ways, even though it's not easy, one of the easiest ways to change something is to first acknowledge it for what it is already. And then from a space of acceptance, make steps to change it if that's what you wish. If you are in a relationship, for example, and it is not to your satisfaction, and you are in denial of it, there is very little that you will do in order to change it, because in order to change your relationship into something better, you first have to accept what is wrong with it, or what is. And without that, there is very little you can do to effectively change something to something better. If you're battling yourself, for example, if you feel discontent with yourself, then essentially you are at odds with yourself. You are not at peace with you. And that will cause a lot of disturbances in the physical body. It can cause a lot of disturbances in the physical body. It can cause a lot of disturbance in the solar plexus, because that's where your power is. And when you deny yourself or when you resist yourself, aspects of yourself, you are essentially limiting the flow of your energy. And that energy ends up being stuck in the body. And it makes you eventually feel unwell on whatever level. So acceptance is a huge piece here. Is there anything else? I just heard, show me what you're made of. Show me what you're made of. Not me, but show the world what you're made of. You are transitioning from holding yourself back to showing the world what you're made of. Allowing yourself to be more out there freely without limitations. So you are likely someone who used to limit, who maybe still do, limit yourself a lot. And you are deciding through self-acceptance to no longer limit yourself nearly as much. And as a consequence, as a result of that, you show up in the world much more unencumbered, much less limited. And you're showing the world what you've got. You're showing the world what you're made of. And for some of you, this means that you are creating something where you offer something to the world. You offer something to other people. This could be a new way of earning money, a new way of living, a new way of experiencing your human existence, new gifts coming up to the surface, and you are sharing your gifts with the world, all as a result of accepting yourself. Self-acceptance does wonders. Remember, you're not just a human being. You are experiencing life as a human being for a moment. In a scheme of things, it's a moment. It's a tiny fraction of time. You are a divine being who is eternally powerful. Just because you don't remember that doesn't mean you're not powerful already. So, acceptance for earth signs, huge. Okay? That's what I have for you for earth signs. Hello, air signs. This is going to be a message or messages for you. So if you are Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius, or you have air in your chart, likely there will be messages here for you. But as I always say, try not to put yourself into boxes. Just because you are a Libra, for example, doesn't mean that a message for a Sagittarius may not connect with you. So my aim is always to help you achieve a level of awareness whereby you are being guided by your intuition, not by what somebody else says you should do or what somebody else says you should look at. So that is always my highest intention for you. Nonetheless, if you are Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius, this is likely what is happening for you or transpiring at this time of your life, whenever you listen to this. What's being left behind? What is leaving? Rescue. This is a very interesting message, and this is what you are currently going through. There is an energy that may feel like for you, like you are waiting for something or someone to rescue you. And at the end of the day, the person that is going to rescue you from whatever situation you are in is you. All you have to do is decide that you do not want to partake in what is currently happening in whatever part or area of your life, particularly where you are feeling stuck. And by affirming this choice within yourself, by allowing yourself to be at peace with what is, knowing that the moment you have acceptance with what is, especially if it's something that you are not necessarily happy with, the moment you have peace with what is, you can move on to the next level, the next phase, and create something that could be better. If we are in a constant state of resistance to what is, we are not in a good position to create something more, because a lot of, or all of the energy goes towards resisting, which means the energy is not free to go and create something else. So you are likely in a place where you are trying to get away from. You are wanting something to happen, someone to come and rescue you. And the only person that can rescue you is you, by deciding that it's time for you to move on. So this is energy that is likely leaving you. So you have been most likely feeling stuck for a while, and I'm actually getting a period of 3. It's not 3 weeks, it would be more 3 months or 3 years. So you are likely feeling or have been feeling stuck in some area of your life. For some of you, it's relationships, for the better part of 3 years, for some of you even longer. And you are choosing to create a different commitment with yourself. What does that mean? You are choosing to look at your life through a different lens, to look at your life and your current circumstance from a higher perspective. And from viewing your situation from a higher perspective, you are able to see things you were not able to see before. Every situation in our life, however small or big, and everything in between, serves a massive purpose in your life. Oftentimes, when we are struggling, we don't see the purpose, but at the end of the day, there is always wisdom to be gained from each and every situation. Now, that is very difficult to see when we are struggling, particularly when something is going not in a direction that we would like, or God forbid something happens and something that happens is not to your liking. It's very hard to see what the purpose of that is. But from your soul's perspective, and your soul has no constraints, it can see life from many different perspectives. From your soul's perspective, the more something is challenging, the more it offers opportunity for growth. So, air signs, you are likely going through a massive change, which is equivalent to opportunities for growth, because we can choose not to grow from situations. Of course, that choice always remains with you. But if you can allow yourself to see your current situation from a higher perspective and ask yourself the question, how can I grow from this? What is this situation showing me or teaching me about me, about my beliefs, about how I look at life, including how I look at myself? And then ask yourself if how you see things can be changed, can be shifted. Everything is a matter of perspective. Two people can look at one thing that's seemingly the same, and two people may experience something very different. It's a matter of perspective. So, massive growth, your soul is undertaking a massive growth, if you will, and growth is an opportunity for creating something new. So you are in a space of potentially creating something new for yourself. But you have to allow yourself, I want to say the truth, that no one can save you from the situation that you are. Of course, people can help you, yes, but no one can take the steps that you need to take in order to free yourself from where you are. For some of you, you're having a situation with your boss at work, and you feel like you are being mistreated, or not treated kindly. That's just one scenario. If that is the case, what can you learn from the situation aside that some people can be assholes? Of course. But you have the power to change your situation. You don't necessarily have the power to change another person and how they are towards you. But there's many things you can do for yourself in terms of how you deal with the situation. So for one, what's coming up here is the need for boundaries. Perhaps one of the learnings that you can take away from your current situation is having stronger boundaries. Having boundaries, really, what having boundaries does, boundaries in some peculiar way make us feel safer. Because what we are essentially doing is we're claiming our space. We're claiming our space. And we let people know, verbally or otherwise, what is appropriate and what it isn't according to you. So if you're dealing with someone who constantly runs you over, ask the question, why? Why is this situation transpiring in your life? What can you learn from it? Perhaps one of the things that you can take away from your situation is that you need to learn how to stand up for yourself, that you need to speak your voice, you need to speak your truth. And if you are used to dealing with people who run you over, you may not have developed strong boundaries. You may not have developed a strong I, which means this is an opportunity for you to do just that. And it's a process. It's not easy. It's similar to learning how to walk when all you've done is crawling for most of your life. So if we take that as an example, if a baby has crawled and hasn't walked yet, the first step the baby takes to stand up, he or she feels very wobbly, not very stable, probably not very secure because he or she has never done it before. It has no ability to trust it yet because it hasn't gone through the process of experiencing what is it like to stand on my feet and have my legs support me. That obviously is a metaphor. So this is likely some takeaways that you can take from your current situation. But you are in a process of leaving that. So the moment you allow yourself to learn from where you're at right now is the moment where you no longer have to repeat the same lesson. It's similar like you go to school. When you pass grades, it means you've learned something, and there's no point for you staying in the same grade and learning the same thing over again. You could do it if you wanted to, but most people would say it's a waste of time, right? So what can you learn from your current situation? This is really, really important. And for a lot of you, it has to do with relationships, relating with other people, not just romantic relationships of all kinds. How do you allow people to treat you? And if people don't treat you very well, ask yourself, what is in me that is attracting these people into my life? Because these people are in your life in order to help you grow. Not to nurture your insecurities, but to help you grow through your insecurities. Okay, so this is likely what you are experiencing right now. And for some of you, you will be still experiencing this for a while, but this is this is an energy that's leaving you. Okay. And I see a lot of prospects around you. What does that mean? It means that there's a lot of opportunities I see around you, but you can't see them yet. And that's because you're stuck in where you are right now. Your energies are very much stuck in where you are right now. And you may not even understand why you are where you are right now. And if that's the case, imagine seeing yourself from a much higher perspective. And one of the one of the exercise that I do with my clients is imagine watching yourself like you are on a movie screen, So you are in a theater watching a movie about you. And you're watching a movie about you from a distance. You have no emotional connection to it. You are just watching. You're simply observing a movie about you. And notice from that perspective what you can see about you that you're not able to see when you are in a situation. Because it is a lot harder to see things when you are in it than when you are outside of it. So it's just a shift of perspective. Notice if there is something that you can gain from doing this exercise and seeing yourself on a movie screen and noticing, what are you noticing about that person that you are watching? What are his or her weaknesses? What is it that she or he needs? What is it that she or he needs to do in the situation in order to feel better about the situation and him or herself? Those are some important questions that you can pose for yourself at this point of your life, because those questions will help you grow and ultimately move out of wherever you are right now. Okay? And by the way, I'm being asked to say that you are not alone in this. And by facing this situation, you are also going to uncover or discover some erroneous beliefs you have about yourself, especially the types of beliefs that make you, on some level, make you feel small, insignificant, unworthy, undesirable. Those are all beliefs. And we create our life based on what we believe. So you are going through a pretty strong restructuring process right now in terms of your own inner identity. Okay? Third eye. A lot of clarity is being bestowed upon you, perhaps because you are choosing to learn from the situation by looking at it from a higher perspective. And for some of you, it's not that you have not been able to see things before. It's more that it was inconvenient for you to see it. Why inconvenient? Because when we start to see things for what they are, not for what we wish them to be, when we see things for what they are, oftentimes we're left with a choice. Do I continue being where I am, or do I want something better? And that choice is always up to you, for the most part. And the choice involves you looking at yourself in terms of what beliefs within me have created my situation. What truths do I hold about myself that allow me to experience whatever it is that I'm experiencing right now? Now, of course, if you are experiencing something beautiful, then you don't have to ask yourself these questions, because chances are you're not struggling, you're not being challenged. So I'm talking about challenges when it comes to a situation you don't want to be in, but you're trying to be somehow saved. Okay? So clarity of mind in terms of your identity, as in, what am I supposed to do? What am I here to do? What can I do to free myself of this situation, or to let go of whatever it is that I'm struggling with, are key words or key phrases over the next, I want to say 2 to 3 months. So whenever you watch this, there's no timestamp on it, but whenever you watch this, this is likely what is transpiring for you. Clarity, and more clarity is what I see. It's like wearing glasses. Have you ever worn glasses that were dirty, but you never bothered to clean them? You still see through them, and then somebody says, give me those glasses. I've done this before. And somebody cleans your glasses, you put them back on, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, I can see so clearly. I can see things, I still see things the way they are, but somehow everything is extra clear. This is what you are likely going to experience over the next little while. Clarity. A lot of clarity. And this clarity is giving you much needed peace of mind. You also need more rest. I feel that you are not feeling rested. When we are struggling a lot, we are often in our minds, we are emotionally all over the place. And that disturbs our ability to rest, and it may disturb your ability to sleep. So you may have been struggling with sleep. For some of you, I'm hearing sleep apnea. You may have sleep apnea. I'm not saying that sleep apnea is a result of a stress, but let's face it, stress is the culprit of all the unwellness that we are experiencing. Okay? But what is coming towards you and what is likely to transpire in your life over the next 2 to 3 months is a lot more clarity. And having clarity gives you more independence. What does that mean? It gives you the ability to see what you can do for yourself in order to free yourself from where you are right now. That's what clarity does. It allows you to move from point A to point B, or from one point to another point, or from one space to another space. This is what clarity allows you to do. It also allows you to stay where you are if that's what you wish to practice more of. Of course, the choice is always yours. But clarity and peace of mind is what's coming up over the next little while. For some of you, it is surrounded around the month of August. Capacity to love. You are here to learn how to love yourself. As a matter of fact, I believe we are all here to learn how to do that. And you cannot truly love someone else if you don't love yourself. I'm sure you've heard this before. I'm sure you know what that means. And there's probably no greater truth than that. If you want someone to love you, if you want someone to respect you, if you want someone to take good care of you, you have to learn first how to do this for yourself. And if you've been keeping yourself small, if you have been suppressing yourself, if you have not been practicing strong boundaries, then what that says is that maybe you don't know how to love yourself. Let's take this analogy. When you have someone you love very, very deeply, unconditionally, you want what's best for them. You give them great guidance. You try and protect them. You do whatever you believe is in your heart that will help you help this person. Okay? You have to be that person for yourself now. And this is one of the biggest changes of identity that you will be experiencing if you're an air sign. Learning how to truly love yourself, how to take care of yourself. And obviously you're an adult, you know how to brush your teeth, go to work, earn money, living, I'm pretty sure. You know how to do all that. But this goes deeper than that. I mean, we can do all these 3D things from a perspective of survival, but they may not necessarily be connected to our love for ourselves. And this is especially true when we are trying to seek love from the outside. So potentially for some of you, you are in a situation that is romantic relationship that is not serving you well anymore. That relationship has served its purpose, but it's no longer allowing you to be the best version of yourself. If anything, it is diminishing you, dimming your light. And if you remain in a situation that dims your light, that diminishes you, then make no mistake, you are allowing that to happen. And it's not a judgment, but it is the truth. And if you allow that to happen, then you have to ask yourself, by me allowing this to happen, whereby I feel diminished, maybe even betrayed, am I allowing this from a space of loving myself? Or am I allowing this because internally I really don't respect myself? So for air signs, this is a huge part of your path where you are closing cycles on how you see yourself with respect to literally learning how to love yourself. There's no other way I can say it. And when you start to learn how to love yourself, and I remember when I used to hear this in my early days, the whole idea of loving myself used to drive me crazy. It actually made me gag. I had such disdain for the idea of loving myself. And the reason why I felt that way is because the concept was 180% contradictory to what I was feeling about myself. And that's why it was driving me crazy. I couldn't stand it. I couldn't stomach it. What do you mean love yourself? Blech! And once I start to learn and understand myself and look within, I understood why this statement, these phrases, I couldn't digest, because they were completely opposite of my own internal truth. So air signs, you are likely learning, and it's a huge learning curve. You are likely learning how to love yourself, how to take better care of yourself emotionally, how to create a life that is more satisfying to you. And we're not talking about being selfish and not taking other people into consideration. No, we're not doing that. As a matter of fact, when you learn how to love yourself, let me just say it this way, when you begin to remember how to love yourself, because you come from love, you are an eternal human being or eternal being that is, its highest frequency is one of unconditional love. You come from that. That's who you are. Only as a human being, you don't remember that, and you have all these different conditionings that tells you otherwise. So the question I'm hearing is, ask yourself, are you a lovable person? If yes, beautiful. If no, ask yourself, why not? Especially ask yourself, where did you get the message about not being a lovable person? Where does it come from? Whose idea was it that you are not a lovable person? Was it your parents? Was it what you experienced in high school? Was it through a breakup? Was it through some sort of a toxic relationship? Because of course you are a lovable person. And the first thing you need to learn how to do is to acknowledge that within yourself and to give that love to yourself first and foremost. When you begin to give love to yourself, when you begin to treat yourself kindly, when you stop putting yourself down, when you stop suppressing yourself, magic happens. Literally, the world realigns in order to meet you on that level. So, air signs, you are experiencing a lot of growth in terms of loving yourself, respecting yourself, being kind to yourself. And if you are someone who is of service to others, you are likely giving that service out of your own kindness. Whatever kindness you give to others, notice if you give at least half of that kindness to yourself. And then if you're not, then ask yourself, why am I not doing that for myself? Is it because you don't feel you are worth it? Is it because It was just something that was never instilled in you. Perhaps you're a great giver, but you're not a great receiver. If you're not a great receiver, there's a reason for that. There's a whole bunch of layers of information that you hold dear that tells you why you should not be a good receiver or why you are not a good receiver. And if you're not a good receiver, chances are quite high is because you are closed. And we close ourselves for primarily one reason only. So we don't get hurt. So if you are not a great receiver, then chances are you are still holding on to some unhealed past. And that is no longer serving you. Okay? So this is what I have for air signs. If you would like to take advantage of the transformational tools I've developed with my team that are absolutely free to you, all you have to do is just click on the link below, download yourself all these tools and start shifting your perspective about yourself. And all these tools are designed to help you know yourself better, to help you grow, to help you feel more abundant within yourself about yourself, so that the universe then can meet you halfway with respect to bringing to you corresponding experiences. So, wonderful energy around you, probably quite tough, but no time like the present to learn how to love yourself and how to stand up for who you are. Hello, water signs. These are going to be messages for you. So if you are a Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces, or you have water sign in your chart, then likely these messages are for you. Again, whatever you feel intuitively drawn to, if you are not a certain sign, but your intuition is guiding you to hear it or to a different element, listen to that. The ultimate goal for me, for you, is to raise your awareness, help you raise your awareness, and help you trust yourself more, which is also trusting your own intuition. Because your intuition is always guiding you, whether you hear it or not, whether you accept it or not, whether you take advantage of it or not, whether you deny it or not, whether you believe it or not, your intuition is always guiding you. You may just not be in a position where you can hear it, perceive it, or trust it in order to take advantage of it. And inside of you, inside of every single person, is a wealth of information that we can draw from. There's wisdom within every single being, has eternal wisdom within them. We just don't know necessarily how to access it. We may not believe it. And there's obviously various reasons for that. And all of it, and I mean all of it, has to do with our conditioning. So many of you are in the process of leaving your past behind, but in all fairness, we are all in the process of doing just that. The whole world is quote unquote collapsing in terms of its outdated structures, and you see this everywhere, from a macrocosm to microcosm. Things are changing, and they're changing very fast. So there's a lot of fast movement happening, not just with water signs, with you, but everywhere. But you will also feel, if you're a water sign, you will feel this craziness, if you will, a lot more emotionally. Your emotions may be all over the place. You may be experiencing a lot of insecurities right now. One of your biggest fears may be coming up to the surface now. And one of the things I'm hearing is, what if I'm being left alone? For some of you, you have a fear of being left alone. And if that is one of your biggest fears, one of the things that your soul is wanting to move through is to move through that fear and get to the other side of that fear. What do I mean by that? When we are ruled by our fears, we limit our potential because the fear stands in the way of us experiencing anything that could be beyond that fear. So if you are someone who fears being alone, and just for clarification, no one truly wants to always be alone. That's why we are born amongst people. We are on a planet surrounded by people, so I love my time alone, but ultimately at the end of the day, I don't want to be spending most of my life alone. I want to share it with somebody. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about an internal fear, being gripped by the fear of being left alone, being abandoned, being discarded. And if that's the case for you, then chances are quite high, and I mean like 75% of you, if you have this in your awareness, then chances are you have been left. Someone has left you. You have experienced a situation where either you were left or you saw someone being left behind and you developed this fear. And when we have a fear like that, and that's one of many, many fears, but when we have a fear like that, it's often very gripping. And in order for us not to, according to our thinking, in order for us not to experience being left alone, we do a whole bunch of crazy things. We allow people to control us. We allow people to diminish us. We allow people to disrespect us. And we allow that to happen because at least we're not going to be left alone. Now, a lot of what I'm expressing right now is very much part of the unconscious behavior. It is something that is unconsciously driven because no one really wants to be disrespected and be okay with that. Yet we do it anyway. And that's just, the disrespect is just an example. It's an example of things that we allow to happen because of our fear of being left alone is in the driver's seat. So if you resonate with that, if you're a water sign who's resonating around the fear of being alone, feeling left alone, feeling fear of being abandoned, then chances are quite high that part of your soul's mission in your life, if you will, is to transcend that fear. And so I'm going to go through some of the cards. What's leaving you? What's behind you? Wow. You are a lot in your head. There's a lot of thoughts going on. Notice this lady, and I believe she has wings. She's not flying. She's stationary, and she's very much in her thoughts. Now, don't misunderstand me. Thoughts are beautiful, or they can be. Thoughts can also be very damaging. Thoughts can either anchor you where you are stuck, or thoughts can allow you to fly. Her thoughts, or your thoughts, are anchoring her where she's not able to fly, which means she's not able to be free. And freedom means different things to different people. So whatever that is for you is going to be different than the next person watching this. But you see these building blocks here? Her fear is preventing her from moving on to the next step, a step that's higher than where she is right now. Her being stuck in her head is not allowing her to see things from a higher perspective. And she's stuck. She's feeling very stuck. So let me see what she wants to say to me. and I hear, I don't like the fact that I'm always by myself. So she's experiencing loneliness. And she is telling me that she doesn't like the fact that she's always by herself. And my question to her is, how does being by yourself serve you? Her first response, which would be an ego response, it would be, it doesn't serve me. And my response to her or to you would be, of course it does. If it didn't serve you, if it had no purpose in your soul and in your own understanding of yourself, you wouldn't be going through this experience. Because every experience has a learning that can be drawn from, that we can draw from. So perhaps you are one of those individuals that keeps to themselves because you're afraid. Perhaps your fear of being left alone is actually creating your life whereby you are often feeling like you're alone. Because let's face it, whatever is in a driver's seat in terms of our belief system, that is our destination. If we are fearful of being left alone, then 9 times out of 10, we are going to unconsciously create a scenario, a whole bunch of scenarios where we, at the end of the day, feel alone. Because that's how powerful your thoughts are. You are that powerful. So if you can create your experience right now, one when you are not satisfied with, you can equally create something the opposite. But in order to create an opposite situation, an opposite experience, you have to start looking at your thoughts and where you focus your attention. So there's a lot of emphasis here on where your thoughts go is where the energy flows. If you are fearful of being left alone, which seems to be the theme here, seems to be the theme that's coming up, then that is a huge hurdle for you to overcome. You are here to transcend this fear, so this fear doesn't rule your life, and as a result, you diminish the types of experiences that you can experience. Okay? There's an opportunity for you to create a brand new foundation. See these 4s? To me, 4s represent new foundations, putting forth new structures. They come to an 8, which is a very strong number. 8 in the tarot is the strength card. So you are in a very strong position right now, alchemically speaking. That's the word that's being given. In order to start recreating your life anew, but you first must look at your life and your situation from a different perspective. And if we are stuck in the ego, and the ego is very limited, then when we are driven by our ego that is afraid, a wounded ego, we're not going to go very far, because our wounded ego is going to try to do everything to protect itself from being hurt, from being left alone, from being abandoned, all those kinds of things. And the unhealed wound has to be healed in order for that part of you, not to be your destination. Okay? But there's a lot of thinking going on. For many of you, you are overthinking. For some of you, it's about practical thinking, practicality. What do you mean? You're looking at your life and you're realizing that there are certain structures you have put in place that are foundationally not very strong. And you are looking at these structures with fresh new eyes, from a fresh new perspective. And you are realizing that in order for you to create the life that you want, you need to take care of or rebuild, let's use that word, your inner structure. Your inner structure is made up of what you believe, how you feel about yourself, how you feel about the world, belief system, basically. That's your structure. And of course, as we all know, your beliefs dictate how you experience your life. So there's a lot of emotional, I want to say, drama going on right now inside of you, and that's not a judgment, by the way, or a ridicule, but there's a lot of emotional stuff going on right now, and certain things are floating up to the surface for you to see, for you to observe. We are all going through a massive change, and we will be going through this massive change for quite a while. The more we allow ourselves to acknowledge that that's the case, the less we will be in a position of resistance. And resistance sucks because it creates a lot of, well, uncomfortable feelings. Okay, so you are, again, just like all the other signs, in a tremendous growth cycle where there are opportunities for you to aspire higher. Aspire higher, to engage with life more confidently. Now think about this for a moment. If you are not a confident person, you are going to hold yourself back. You are potentially going to say no to a lot of the opportunities, and all opportunities have a certain risk to them, some smaller, some bigger. But if you are in someone who is not feeling good about him or herself or insecure, you're going to say no to all these amazing opportunities. You're going to look at the possible risk, and you're going to take the risk as the deciding factor, and you're going to stay where you are. On the other hand, when you are a more confident person, you believe your strength. You understand that part of how you create your life is how the universe perceives you. And the universe perceives you the way you perceive yourself. So in order for the universe to give you more opportunities that are of higher frequency, it has to match you. So water signs, you are likely looking at your internal guidance system. What does your internal compass say? How does it guide you? Is its frequency high or is it low? And when I say high, is its frequency confidence and guided by universal laws, like attracts like? The higher you vibrate, the higher experiences you will experience? Or is it driven by low frequency, which is based in things like fear, insecurity, and things like that? Okay. And you are shifting, or there is an opportunity for you to shift your perspective on how you see yourself. And how you see yourself changes how you see the world. How you see the world then changes what you experience. So there's a great opportunity here, and I see like a flower that's opening up. What's coming up for you? What did I say? It is not saying that you are going to be experiencing heartache and loss. However, you will be at healing heartache and loss that has transpired for most of you a long time ago. This is a process of healing. You are healing aspects of yourself that keep you stuck. She's stuck in this hole, and she's turned away from her freedom. She's not facing freedom. She's facing darkness. And likely this is why you are experiencing a lot of emotional drama right now, because certain things are coming up to the surface for you to deal with. You might be dealing with a situation that triggers some old unhealed wound, so that you can look at it and decide that this is your time to start the healing process. Okay? And I just heard it's not too late to start over again. So for many of you, you are starting over, or you will be starting over. You will be starting over in a fresh new way, in a way that is full of possibilities, and those possibilities are not limited by your unhealed ego. So I see you leaving one cycle and stepping over to this other cycle, which represents endings and beginnings. And I just heard, do it on trial basis. Redesign your life by changing what you believe about yourself and shifting your perspective, and see how it works out for you. If you don't like the end result, you can always go back. But here's what I'm going to tell you. I promise you, and I mean, I don't promise too many things to too many people. I promise you, when you start shifting your perspective, when you start healing your wounded ego, when you start healing your inner child, which is a lot of where the trauma is stored, your life is going to start looking drastically very different in a positive way. Because all of a sudden, you will no longer be structuring your life from a lower vibration, from a lower vibrational position within yourself. Because when we heal, we move up in frequency, and this is where we start to create from. So once we created from here, now we're creating from here. So this is not for you to expect heartache and loss. This is for you to deal with some heartache and loss that has already happened or you have already experienced. This is very much a healing time for you, okay? 3 to me also represents expansion, moving beyond what is known, moving beyond the tested and tried, and moving into a new level of awareness, a more expanded level of awareness. You are a being that's capable of anything. I want you to know that. And if you've heard this before, then it's a reminder. The only thing that limits you is your understanding of yourself. And even though you have a physical body, even though you are experiencing life in a human form, and there are some limitations with that, for sure, even within the limitations of having a human body, you are so much more unlimited than what you give yourself credit for. So it's time to leave the past behind. A lot of healing to be done for you water signs, which, by the way, is going to balance out your emotions, okay? And you ultimately will be in a much more emotional, calmer space. I'm seeing a lot of anxiety. You may be someone who has been experiencing a lot of anxiety in your life. And for some of you, the level of anxiety that you have been experiencing will be a thing of the past in a short while, once you start looking at whatever needs to be healed. And what I'm hearing is inner child work for many of you, okay? Last but not least, look at this, energetic movement. Time to shift energies. Time to clean up your act, if you will, and I don't mean that in a diminishing way. Ganesha here, by the way, Ganesha stands for remover of obstacles. There's chaos around him, but he's moving forward, he's charging forward. And he is fully expecting that this chaotic energy is eventually going to come down. So he's going through a process of change, but he's not letting this energy stop him or keep him from where he's going, or keep him stuck in where he is at. Let me just see what else he wants me to say to you. Be mindful of the questions you pose to yourself. And I asked, what do you mean? One of the things I heard was, why am I so unlucky? Why is it always me? Woes is me. Is that the saying? So let's take the first question as an example. Why am I always so unlucky? Are you unlucky? Is it luck that is responsible for where you're at, or is it part of your programming? And luck is there to some degree, but by far what is responsible for how we live our life is our conditioning. And you two are going through a process of change. Change can be chaotic, especially if you're healing some wounds and doing a whole bunch of thinking. It can feel a little bit uncomfortable. Don't let the discomfort scare you. You are firmly on your path, which means even though it may feel chaotic, and even though there is a lot of shift or change taking place, there's a lot of shifting going on in your physical life, it doesn't mean that you're not on your path. In fact, it means you're exactly where you're meant to be. Because if you are not meant to be where you are, it wouldn't be happening. It's that simple. Now, that is not to say that you are deserving whatever is happening, especially if it's something that is quote unquote bad. That's not it at all. But again, there's always a level of growth that can be experienced from every situation. So if you look at your chaos in your life right now, however small or however big, and remember that this chaos, there's a purpose in this chaos. And this chaos can offer you a lot of wisdom. Then once the chaos subsides, because it always does, it never always stays the same. Once it subsides, you're left with the wisdom. And then you can use your wisdom in order to create the next phase of your life. And wisdom and higher understanding to me are synonymous with each other. Okay? What do you want for yourself? And when you answer that question, let's say, I want a beautiful relationship. Okay, let's say you receive a beautiful relationship right now. Boom, the universe just says, here it is. How will you manage it? Is your understanding of yourself aligned with experiencing a beautiful relationship and keeping a beautiful relationship? Because if you have a fear of feeling alone, then you might be given a beautiful relationship, but your fear is going to ruin it. You're not going to be able to benefit from whatever this relationship can give you because your fear is not going to allow you to do it. So if you are one of those individuals that is feeling alone or is afraid of being alone and you are wanting to have a beautiful relationship, one of the first things you have to do, and I mean you have to heal some heartache and loss that has happened from the past. So it does not stand in a way of attracting a beautiful relationship. And because they're talking to me about relationship, then chances are, if this is what you're after, it's already in a periphery. It's already in your blueprint, if you will. But in order for you to match yourself with it, you have to align. You have to align energetically. And this is where the healing takes place. Okay? So, if you have challenges with fear of being alone, abandonment, feeling discarded or being discarded, anything of that sort, then all of that is stemming from some sort of an experience, either one you have gone through or you've watched someone go through. And as a result, you've developed a fear. And that fear has a firm grip on you. And your soul is guiding you to move through it, to transcend it, so that you can finally, once and for all, enjoy the very thing that you are wanting to experience. Because if the universe gives you a beautiful partner, and you're not able to fully experience it because you're stuck in your fear, then what's the point of having a beautiful partner if you can't take advantage of that frequency? Okay. Again, if you are wanting to do some internal digging and healing, including healing your inner child, do click on the link below and get yourself the transformational tools that are absolutely free. And they're designed to help you shift your own perspectives about you and ultimately to help you heal you. So that's what I have for you, water signs. Thank you so much for being here. I would love to see your comments, and take care of yourself, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye-bye.